Hello, my crafty friends. It's Michelle, the Southern Shell, and I am here with a stencil Sunday. Come and see what rustic Christmas decor I made using my stencils. Meet our hosts. We have Christy with Funky Junk Inspiration and Mary from the Painted Peach. Links to their channels will be in my description box below, along with a playlist of the other wonderful crafters that are participating in this collaboration. Let's jump in and see what I did and get some new tricks and tips. So the first thing I have is this board that's 12 by 12 and it's a little warped. So I thought I would spritz it down and use my Cricut mini press to hopefully get this flat again. The only issue I had was when I spritzed it and ironed it, it smelled like a clean gerbil or guinea pig's cage. I think it's, just that wood, that inexpensive thin wood there. But it did work and I was able to get it nice and flat. Now here I have my book of stencils and I have a bunch of different ones in here, background patterns and so forth. And so I just wanted to go through and kind of look and see what I wanted to work on today. So my board is totally painted white. I used the Waverly Snow White chalk paint, Waverly Snow White chalk paint. And I have my first stencil here and I'm pressing it down. I have a little bit of stencil adhesive on the back. So that's all I have to do is kind of press it down and it will hold on there. Now, in order to decrease bleeding on stencils like this, I will use Mod Podge first. I will go through and I'll put a thin coat of Mod Podge down on the stencil and let that totally dry before I move on to the paint. Once that Mod Podge is dry, I'm coming in with some folk art chalk paint in the color moss, and I'm going to go over the tree on this stencil. Just the trees, I should say. And I am going to just lay that down. I did not lift my stencil once the Mod Podge dried. I just went in and started stenciling the colors that I wanted. So the next thing I needed to do was start with some browns for my deer. And I'm using some chocolate sprinkle. It was the only dark enough brown. And it is an acrylic paint, and that's fine. And all I did was come in with that chocolate sprinkle and pounce it over the antlers of my little deer. Now I grabbed my Waverly chalk paint in the color hazelnut, and I have my big stencil brush, and I'm going to come in. Actually, no, I'm using my smaller one, and I'm going to just dab, dab, dab all over that deer's body and just pouncing up and down all around those edges. The adhesive should help it stay, as well as that Mod Podge that I've been put down over the top of it as well. So this is going to help with any bleeding, and there's our little deer all pounced in. Now I have folk art chalk paint in the color sheepskin, and I am going over the snow drifts on here. I wanted it to give not blend in too well with that white background. This actually helps give it a little bit of shadowing around that deer and the trees against that white background. Once that background is all pounced in there, I'm coming in and I'm just doing a little bit of touches here and there on my deer. A little bit on the tail, a little bit on the belly, and some across the back, looking like snow falling on his little body. Now I have some DIY chalk paint in the color Sunshine, I believe it is. And that is where I'm going to put on the stars that are on the tops of these trees. I'm just going to come in and just dab those little star tops, so that we can have our little stars standing out against that stark white background. Now I have Waverly chalk paint in the color Pink Sky. Because most of my stuff is shabby chic, rustic, more rustic than shabby chic, but I thought this color would be perfect and tie in to the muted tones of your rustic Christmas colors. So I'm just pouncing with a sponge now over the top of my Merry Christmas. Once that is done, I'm going to come in and I'm using my Snow White chalk paint and doing around the edges and around the bases of the trees just a little bit more, along the edges of the trees where maybe the snow would have fallen. And this is going to give us a little bit more dimension in our trees because they were all one color, that moss. Time to lift our stencil up. And because I put that Mod Podge down first, we have a very nice crisp stencil. Now my stencil is clean. And what I want to do is I want to cover this. You can use masking paper or a masking, it's kind of like a paint, and you will cover that. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to come in with my matte Mod Podge and seal in this chalk paint. The reason I'm doing this is what I use to actually mask over this. It doesn't do well on the chalk paint itself, but if you come in and use your Mod Podge to add a layer there and seal over that, it will work out for you. Now you'll see me here and I'm going to come in and I'm just going to Mod Podge the whole thing and I'm going to lift it a little bit here and there because I don't want this to dry my stencil to the image, to my board. So I'm just going to come in and then I'm going to let it dry just like that. Okay. Now my secret ingredient is rubber cement. Guys, this is, if you are my age, you probably still used rubber cement in school. I don't think they do anymore, but it's still a cheap masking agent. So it works really well for crafting. So I came in and I just put a little bit of that rubber cement on my little pad off to the side. And I'm coming in with a pouncer, a sponge pouncer here. And I am just going to go over this whole thing with rubber cement. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to create a mask. Because if you remember playing with rubber cement when you were in school, at least I remember rubbing it between my fingers and you get those little rubber cement boogers that the boys would fling at you. Yeah, that's what we're doing here. Okay, so I'm just going to continue with the rubber cement all over this, and I put on 2 good coats and let it dry. So you can actually come in and just, I don't want to make too much of a mess. So I don't want it fully dry, but I can pull that off. And now my image is covered in rubber cement and now it is protected about from any other stamps that I'm going to use on here. Now here you can see, you just rub it with your hands there and it will come right off your stencil. Easy breezy. All right. So here I have another stencil. This one is a little thinner than that other one was. So it's not so bad. It won't be so bad with the bleeding. So I did not use the Mod Podge on here. And I mean, maybe I should have. But because it's a thinner stencil, I can get it pressed down onto my board and not have a lot of issues. I did Mod Podge it. See, I knew that it could have an issue, so I thought it would be best just to come in, Mod Podge over the top of that so that I can go ahead and use my green because these greens are so deep and dark that if once you get it on there, if it bleeds, it's going to be hard to cover up on that white. The first thing I'm doing is I'm using some DIY chalk paint in the mint chip. And this is a much lighter green, but I'm coming in and I'm going to do some layers on here to give me dimensions in my trees. You can hand paint your trees, but this is a stencil Sunday. So there we go. We're just going to use our stencils here. I'm coming in now with the darker green with DIY, and I just put enough there, just tapped it off, and now I'm coming in all along that one side. That's it. I'm just going to lightly dab, dab, dab with my great big stencil brush and just go part way into the tree. Now I have my folk art in moss. And once again, just a little off the lid. That's all I need. and I'm going to come in over that other green and tap, 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 and bring it on closer to the center where my deer is. I want that area to be lighter, and look at there. You have that tree with those multiple colors on there, and I think it turned out great. Now here, I did not use the Mod Podge. Now you'll see the difference. Now I took the light green and I started that again. Just dab, 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 making sure I'm going all around, getting that mint chip on there, coming in with that darker green. I think I need a little bit more on my brush, so just once again, dab on the top and dab it off. That's all I needed. And then drag that down, well, pounce it down. I'm just pouncing, I'm not dragging. And then once again, that moss green, and I don't need much of that one either, and come in and start pouncing, 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 leaving it lighter to the right side. And this one bled just a little bit, but it wasn't bad because it was a thinner stencil. So I wasn't worried about it. You can't see it too bad on here. If I did a close-up, you probably could, but we'll leave it at that. Once that's dry, I'm coming in again with my secret weapon here, the rubber cement, because I want the white parts on there to stay white, and I want those green areas on there to stay that tone that they are. I love how that blended inside that stencil, and I am just going to load a good coat all across the top of both of my trees here. Once that rubber cement is dried, I am going to come in with some Nimbus. Now I'm coming in, I can just drag it right across the top of my tree, right across my letters there, and I am just putting a nice little coat of this Nimbus to create a sky. I wanted, you want a little bit of gray, snowy sky is what I was trying to go for here. So I'm going to put just a nice coat all the way down, all the way across. I am going to come in with this beautiful blue by DIY. And look, I am just the perfect little artist here. Blah, blah, blah. My Nimbus is still wet. And I blobbed on that blue. And now I'm going to come in with some more wet Nimbus and crisscross all over my sky. So that gives me a little bit of blue sky trying to peek through those clouds as it's all up in there looking like a snowstorm. So now I'm going to come in with this other stencil here, and this is a tall tree. I'm going to take that mint chips to start with. I'm going to dab off my stencil brush and just keep going. And I'm going to plop some back here along the horizon of my little image. And you see, I don't care if I get it over my letters, I get it over my other trees. It doesn't matter because I put down that rubber cement to help protect what I was doing. And so here you see, I'm just coming in with that mint chip. And now I'm going to go ahead and grab that other green by DIY. And I'm just going to tip. Oh, nope. See, I came in with just the moss. Just the moss. I had all my greens there, just mixing and having fun. Now I'm offsetting this from the mint chip and adding that moss down. And you can see here that it just gives us some difference in that. Looks like we've got trees in the background that are lighter, some snow drifts. And I just love how this is coming together, giving that detail with these stencils as you layer upon layer. All right, it is dry. So I am using my favorite tool, my fingers, and I am rubbing on that rubber cement. Should have put one more coat on those letters, but it did turn out fine. You can see me wiping away the sky off of that tree there, and you just come in and you just have to be patient and just keep working it, and it does take a little bit of time, but it will come off and you won't have any residue left on there at all. So I'm just coming in down around the deer and those other trees, just rub, and then wipe off the excess. Did have to come in with my putty knife on a couple of those letters and just scrape off the rest of that rubber cement there. Be very careful you do not scrape up your paint. Okay, let's make some texture paste to give more dimension to our imagery here. I have some cornstarch. I have some matte Mod Podge. Squirt it on in there. Oh my goodness. And some white acrylic paint. And I just pushed that all in there. Oh my word, where are my words? Okay, I mixed it all up in this little cupcake holder here and got that all mixed in there nicely so that I now have my homemade texture paste. Once I have the consistency that I like, I will be coming in with that texture paste I just created and laying it across the white areas of where my stencil covered. And that is going to give us the snowfall effect on our trees. Wow, I think that just really steps this up a notch, guys. Just adding a little bit more texture in there, popping it in where that stencil covered, where you knew that that white would be for snow. And I'm just going to do this along all of the trees that we've already laid on there with our stencils. Once I'm happy with the trees, I'm going to come back in with some more and I'm creating falling snow. Now this is just a little bit on my brush and I'm just dab, dab, dab all over the place where you would see the snow falling. This is going to give some dimension to our snow. So I took another one of those wood sheets that I have and I took it downstairs to my basement and I cut 2 centimeter strips out of it. So it's 12 inches by 2. Cut 4 of those and I'm creating a frame. I did a 45-degree angle cut and I just needed to buff it a little bit with the sand. And you see in my phone right on up there, I am chit-chatting with my little grandson again, that Mr. Theodore got to watch me actually cut the wood, and he just thought that was just amazing. So now I'm coming in with my antique wax because what better to rustic this up but some antique wax. And I'm just going to do one side of this. I'm going to do the edges and the front side. The reason I'm not doing the bottom is because I need to glue this onto my project. There we have all of them. Look at how beautiful. And there we have the project. I love the antique wax there. It helps bring out, it like focuses in on that little deer down there with the brown. I think it's great. And of course, my wood glue always has a little cap on it. So I've got to, I had to pull that off. And I'm just going to take wood glue and put it all over the back side here of my little frame piece. Once I have that on there and I have enough glue because I want this to attach, I don't want it oozing out, but I'm going to put the corner to corner. And there's that 12-inch matching up perfectly. I'm taking my binder clips and I'm just going to attach it right there in the center using a binder clip. I'm going to do the next piece, rubbing it down with that wood glue once again. I'll come in and I'll match up the bottom. I'm off screen there. I'm so sorry. I'm going to match up the bottom and I'm going to come in and I'm going to clip that. I glued down that last piece there. I went ahead and clamped it down and realized I should have put my hanger between the wood pieces before adding the glue and the frame around it. So I'm just going to lift that up here and I'm going to grab some jute twine. I'm going to do a little faux braid on this jute twine. So what I do is I take it and I fold it in half, which you cannot see me doing a thing here, but I'm just going to fold it in half and I'm basically going to do a little twist, but I'm going to glue it down to the artwork first. Right there, I'm going to lay it down and I'm going to attach that top piece right back on over the top of my twine. And that way I've got my hanger sandwiched in between the both pieces of wood with that wood glue. And then I come in and I braid it. Once that piece is all done and braided, I lifted it up and stuck it under in between the two pieces on the opposite side. And I am off screen there, but here you can see it now. Okay, so while all my glue is going to dry, I'm going to come in with some more of my dimension. So I'm coming in and I just wanted to load up some along the bottom. I want it to come down onto my frame as if the snow is falling out of our picture out into your room. I think this is
So
just
here I
super
have
sweet.
the
It just looks like the snow is
ornaments
coming
that I
out,
had
and
gotten.
from Amazon a couple years ago. Came in a pack of I think 24 for $9.99, and I'm going to just add some to the corner of my frame.
Well, there you have it, my friends. What do you think about this? I think it turned out really cute. That board is still warped. Look at that right there. Those corners. Tell me what you would do to help get this board flat. It's not as bad as it was, or do you think it's just fine the way it is? Should I glue another board on the back to help even it out? Or maybe just stack some books or something on it and leave it sit overnight? Let me know what you think. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. This is a fun collaboration. I had fun digging my stencils out again. I know your time's precious and I appreciate you spending time with me today. Guys, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you've not subscribed, I hope you will do so now by hitting that subscribe button and hit that bell notification, and YouTube will let you know when my next video has gone live. As always, stay safe, God bless, and bye for now.